of cloves. At that time, clove plantations sprang up across the islands, increasing the need for manual labor provided by slaves. And these various political, cultural, maritime, and agricultural activities drew a population composed of Arabs, Indians, Europeans, Africans, and people from the Comoros Islands. The population of Zanzibar soared from 5,000 in 1820 to 200,000 by 1830. In the middle of the 17th century, Zanzibar's slave market was booming, as was slave trade with Mauritius and Reunion Island, where slaves were used on the sugarcane and clove plantations. At the beginning of the 18th century, Europe and the United States abolished slavery. Oman had become an important nation of traders. One of its primary exports was dates, and the development of date plantations created a market for cheap labor. Islamic law forbade Muslims to be used as slaves, and so Africans were brought to Zanzibar to do the work. In East Africa at that time, 8,000 slaves were brought each year to Zanzibar, creating a surplus. The British pressured the Sultan, and finally in 1907, slavery was abolished on the island. Ravaged by the years, the old coral stone buildings today stand as reminders of the grander days of the 19th century. Zanzibar. There were palaces, steam baths, and winding bazaars. The Palace Museum. The Sultan's former residence was transformed into a people's palace after the 1964 revolution. In 1994, the palace was made into a museum dedicated to the history of Zanzibar's sultanates. Most of the original furnishings survived the years of revolution. Built in 1883 as the ceremonial palace of Sultan Bargash, the House of Wonders is a square three-story building surrounded by pillars and balconies and topped with a large clock tower. It was built over a former palace which belonged to Queen Fatma in the 18th century. It was the first building to have electricity, as well as the first in Eastern Africa to have an electric elevator. For this reason, the locals called it the House of Wonders. In 1896, Sultan Hamid died, and his cousin Khalid tried to take control of the throne. The bombings which accompanied this event damaged the building. The house was later rebuilt by the colonial British government and was used as their headquarters. After the government was overthrown in 1964, it was used as the headquarters for the new political party. In 1977, it once again changed hands and was now used by the revolutionary government, Tanzania's only political party. It was abandoned in the 90s, but one day may become a national museum. Zanzibar is a living museum. It is located at the crossroads of the African continent and the maritime world of the Indian Ocean. Modern Zanzibar began to take form during the long reign of Sayyid Khalifa bin Harub, who lived from 1911 to 1960.